Lea, on Glee, what do you find most challenging, the comedic aspect or the dramatic parts of the show?
You know, I feel like we get to do both so equally. I feel like when we're doing the serious stuff, I'm like, oh, let's get back to the comedy. I mean, when we're doing the comedy, we sort of crave more of those dramatic storylines. But I think it's just so equally balanced on the show that I just feel really sort of satisfied. As far as what's more challenging, for me, I did, I think, every sort of tragic Broadway musical possible. I died, I had abortions, I was poor, I was an immigrant.
You sang your way through.
Yeah, I did. That literally doing comedy was like, I remember coming up stage being like I can't do it anymore. Like, it has to be something funny. And I didn't even know if I could do it. For me, I grew up watching, SNL, and I would lock myself in my room and I would pretend I was Rosanna Anadana, or I would, pretend I was like, Rosie O'Donnell, do a little talk show for my mom, and I would be Rosie and her guest, and then back to Rosie and her guest. But I didn't ever think that made me funny. I was just like a kooky kid. So thankfully Glee came along because I just couldn't do the tragedies anymore.
What do you all consider your big break in business?
Definitely the off-Broadway production of the musical version of Clueless, which I played one of the high school students with a nose job. Yes. I actually didn't do that. I wanted that job and didn't get it. I really wanted that workshop. Didn't get it. There's still a chance.
You should call
So
them.
I
bet you'd get the job.
Now.
They're sorry now.
Yeah.
What do you guys consider your scariest moment on stage or performing?
That's my biggest. We're doing our live concert of Glee right now, and every night I'm backstage. Like I've started writing things on my hands. I'm like terrified. So if anything happens to me tonight, I'm saying it over the microphone.
I'm having
Get nervous right now.
It won't happen.
I've had so many embarrassing / scary things happen from working on Broadway, from everything from having like people wildly drunk, like in the audience, and we also had seats on the stage. I was in a show called Spring Awakening, and there was this one scene where my character's deciding whether or not she should have an abortion, and I'm 14 years old, and it's Germany, and everything bad is happening, and this one woman in the audience just goes, "Go for it!" And I was like, nobody really. Okay, that's great. And other things too.
I'm really sorry. I thought it was funny at the time. I'm glad I get to see you in person.
There is nothing worse than going, I know exactly what you're saying, but on sitcom we can do it a million times, but there's been a few times where we've ran it a million times, you know it, and you're just blank. You cannot remember a sentence. You can't, and it's the scariest, because you start panicking and you start getting, you freak yourself out even more. Oh my God, it is the worst feeling. It's not just one time you've gotten scared. This happens a lot. But it's just, it's gone. I literally am like a tumbleweed's just gone. I don't see anything else. Saloon doors, done. I checked out. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
But I think, we all have that. It's like what you're saying, that adrenaline. I know, we all, that moment happens. And then like the thing in you that somehow.
But then you look crazy.
But at least I was allowed to in my situation.
Right. Not so much when you're singing "Don't Rain on My Parade" on the Glee tour, and you think you forget the lines, and then you look like you're possessed by the devil, and these 14-year-old kids are like, "What's going on?"
There's an amazing YouTube video of Leslie Uggams. Does anyone know
I know what you're talking about.
It is. She goes up on her words.
Yes.
She's singing at the White House.
Singing,
during the Reagan era, and she's lovely.
She's singing. Is it God?
No. She's singing. Oh my God! I can't believe I can't remember it now. I'm going up on her words, but she sings.
Why can't I remember?
Yeah, it's
YouTube it. Pull out your phone.
We'll think of it. But
it's not like America the Beautiful or like anything like that.
It's like no, it's not like, it's something like Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It's something really peppy.
I've seen it.
And it's like, and she just from minute one goes up on the words, but she just, it's so funny.
She still goes for it.
She goes for it. She just sings gibberish the whole time. She just sings gibberish, and she fully commits the whole time.
She's like scatting.
I can't believe I can't remember.
She starts to scat.
Yes, that's what she does. It's a lesson in commitment, sir. I'm amazed that you guys with your, you do single cam, and I mean, especially you guys, like at a certain point, you must have to, for the sake of time and everything else, just like hit your mark and bark and make it funny, right?
Well, yeah, we spend a lot of time on individual scenes.
Oh, you do?
We really do. I mean, we have long days, but
Yeah, I would imagine, but I feel like there's so many moving parts on that show that like, does the comedy take a back seat to, I mean, there's the singing and the dancing and like everything, there's so many moving parts that by the time you get around to doing a scene, you're just like, come on, just get this over with.
we've actually gotten to the point now with the musical numbers that those are so, like, we know the formula for shooting the musical numbers, that when we get into the scenes, it's really nice to sort of like take our time and be able to, work on it, but also we don't want to take too much time because, like you said, it's sort of like, you want to do it a couple times, and it's always like the earlier takes that are sort of the best because you're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
I find my best coverage is when the camera's not on me.
Yeah.
Always. Doesn't that suck?
Yes.
Curious, how do you handle when you read something that you're supposed to say and you're like, this is not funny? I mean, does that ever happen to you? And how do you handle that? Do you make suggestions? Do you just live with it, or how do you handle?
I get told all the time, like, I read these things that my character says that's like, I get, like, my training bra is hurting me. I'm like, really? Like, really? Like, come on. I know that I'm not, like, giving you Beach Babe here, but can I please just, and they're like, no, it's funny. Funny, I'm like, but it's still relating, it's still me. That's still me we're talking about, right?
See, I think about like how many pitches like did it take to get to that joke? Like how long were they in the writer's room working on
They were like
working
in the room.
toward that?
Well, we have 3 writers, so I know that they were in the room like, wouldn't it be so funny if Lee was like, haha, my training bra. And then they write it down, and then I read it.
What they're doing in
We have 3, yes.
You have 3 writers? That's
3
it?
writers for our show.
Oh, you were serious?
Oh
No,
my
I swear.
Lord.
They write together all the time.
And they're all men too.
Yep, all
Which makes a
men.
difference, probably the training bra.
Yeah, right? I'm like, what do they know?
Yes, you can definitely tell. You'll be like, oh, one of the male writers wrote this. You can definitely tell that sometimes.
Yeah, but no, they only 3, and they always sit down and write together. They write every script together. I mean, even if it does sometimes at the beginning of the show say a certain script is written by like one certain person, one of the 3, but they write it all together. So, but it is very clear which writers, which characters voice.
What's the most personal thing you've ever infused in your character or your work, if anything? How about you, Leah?
I feel like they draw a lot upon my personal experiences, especially when I was younger. I really feel like Rachel is very much myself when I was, her age or a little younger. God forbid I ever bring up any of my insecurities. It is in that script. Anything I have, like we just did a whole episode about my character wanting to get a nose job. I've talked about my nose enough in this business for everybody to know. It's big, it's there, whatever. But, it is interesting to play a girl in high school and sort of draw upon what that kind of felt like and to be different. I was very different from anybody that I knew growing up, that I went to school with. Nobody really looked like me. There wasn't any girls really on television that I felt looked like me. That's why I said I loved Gilda Radner. She was the only person that I felt looked at or acted like me. So that's really something that I find very sort of emotional for me to draw upon, sort of that feeling of just sort of being different and not quite knowing how to deal with that, but still trying to have the strength to be strong every day and be like, just because I am, I'm not going to change it. So it's difficult, but I also know when I do it that's why we do our show. That's why we do our long hours. That's why we get those slushies in our face and all that stuff, because I feel so lucky that we get to make people laugh, but I also feel like we're doing something important at the same time. So I really feel like I have the greatest job to be able to do sort of both things.
What's the best or worst career advice you've ever received?
I haven't gotten a lot of bad advice. You have gotten a lot of bad advice.
Like what?
Well, not. This isn't really advice. I used to sort of, you know, like I said, I was a really kind of weirdo kid, and I used to sing like around the house and be like, listen to me sing, and my mom would be like carrying her laundry like later, and you know, so I will never forget my father coming up to me after me probably doing some rendition of some, you know, whatever song, just saying to me like, you're a great dancer, but you're not a singer. So, you know, just stick with that. And now I think about that every day. I'm on the Glee tour. My legs are like noodles. I don't know where I'm going. All I do is move my arms, and I figured that's the best I can do. And so stick with the dancing, not the singing.
Is he hearing challenge?
Well, he does say I take after him in his singing voice, so I guess he is.
That's so crazy.